Right, we're recording. Hey, Bishop, how are you?
Oh, Sister Alpa, I am doing magnificent for a Friday afternoon. How are you in London, England?
Oh, I'm brilliant. I've been so excited, Bishop, to be speaking to you again after our phenomenal conversation last time. And I'd like to thank you for such a powerhouse of a discussion on part one of the greatest global cover up in human history. Just a few house notes. If this is the first time you are on my channel, or the Bishops, stop right here and watch part one first, as this is a must, so it makes sense chronologically. You can go on the Bishop's channel on Global Spiritual Revolution Radio and Media Group, or if you're watching me on the Bishop's channel, then you can find my videos if you're interested in finding more about me on alpasoni.com or on YouTube. Bishop, I had so many emails in gratitude about that show, and I'd like to take this opportunity before we start talking about what will be another mind-blowing discussion, is to thank everyone that watched part one and gave feedback, both positive and negative. So just a very, very quick recap of some of the salient points from that show. The Bishop gave us an incredible in-depth account of how Kobe Bryant's death was and is interconnected to the great global cover-up, also known as COVID-19. How Kobe Bryant was set up for charges of raping Caitlin Faber by Richard Stedman, and all this is all a part of the 5B, the Kappa orders that changed the course of Kobe Bryant's life, to be recruited by the Black Skulls and Bones Society because he was uncontrollable by the deep state. This led to alignments with various mafia organized crime establishments, and thus Kobe was going to expose the big pharmaceuticals, who were at that point lacing weight loss pills with opioid substances. So this eventually saw him getting killed because it connects to none other than Soros and Gates, because they own half of the stocks of all these pharmaceutical companies. The Bishop later went on to talk about the weaponization of Black Lives Matter and how Antifa is a terrorist organization funded by George Soros. And this show really highlighted for me the compartmentalization of darkness, how this was how Kobe Bryant was going to expose the Clinton Foundation and the connection to Epstein. So there was so much being talked about on this show, and this briefly covers most of it. And today we're going to wrap that chapter up, and then the Bishop will be taking us through the takedown of the Federal Reserve by Trump, leading to the Hunter Biden story that is making headlines on social media at the moment. But interestingly enough, mainstream media is not covering it. So Bishop, without further ado, please reintroduce yourself and let's continue the chat about the greatest global cover-up in human history.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sister Alpa. You're doing a magnificent job in exposing truth, not only there in London, England, but throughout the world. My name is Bishop Larry Gaiters. I'm the host of the nationally and internationally syndicated radio show Global Spiritual Revolution Radio through the iHeartRadio network and the iHeart Media Group here in New York City, New York, through the WOR 710 AM network family here in New York City, New York. We are part of a powerful team like Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Judge Janine, some powerful people that we are now on that level. We average around 200 million people a week around the world via through the WOR 710 AM network, the voice of New York. I've been in radio for 25 years as a nationally syndicated radio talk show host, been in ministry for 40 years. I've had the privilege and the distinct honor of traveling the world during that protracted period of time of 40 years. I'm 57. I'm going on 27 today. I feel great. And so I am, that's my life in a nutshell, in a snippet, but I'm very honored to grace your powerful platform to talk about this part two of the greatest global cover-up in human history. With a kind of a subtopic would be the house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. They are a crime family. They are a crime syndicate. Sister Alpa, I thought the Clinton regime was the most corrupted family in American political history. No, it's Joe Biden. And we're going to dissect what happened last night. And there's a word that Joe Biden spoke concerning dark winter. And that's a simulation exercise that was initiated by the Central Intelligence Agency and the National Security Agency in conjunction with the Pentagon through Johns Hopkins University in 2001. And so we'll talk about that later on. But House of Cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Now, before we get into Joe Biden, I want to kind of pick up where we left off a few weeks ago concerning how President Trump took over the Federal Reserve System. Now, for your listeners who may not be privy to the origins or to the historicity of the Federal Reserve System was enacted into American law during the month of December in 1913 by a group of private bankers in an international elite, beginning with the Rothschild dynasty, the Oppenheimers, the Warburgs. So they had purposely caused the Great Depression 13 years later in order to force the United States to depend upon a new money system, because the original money supply of the American industrial complex was not in paper. It was in gold, backed up by gold. And so because of these international bankers who had designed this Federal Reserve System off of the coast of Georgia on an island called Jekyll Island. So they had forced President Woodrow Wilson to succumb to these devils like Rothschilds, like Warburgs, like the Oppenheimers and the Rockefellers in order to take over the complete money supply of our country. Now, what President Trump did was absolutely intelligence.
Brilliant.
Because no president in modern US history has ever dared to challenge the US Federal Reserve System. So the Federal Reserve System is consisting of 12 men and women who control the 12 sections of financial power throughout these United States for America. Okay, now you'll constantly hear the bishop say the United States for America, but not the United States of America. Why? Because that for America is connected to the first Constitution. So the Federal Reserve, they have now been the owners of American financial power since 1913. And these 12 individuals, the individuals who run the Federal Reserve, they're not even American citizens. I know Chairman Powell is the face of the Federal Reserve, but he's not the power behind it. The power behind the Federal Reserve is those people who are members of the Rockefeller Foundation, the Soros Foundation, the Rothschild Foundation, the Oppenheimer Foundation, including the Pritzker family out of Chicago. And so these devils are not Americans. So then to understand what Trump did, he took over the Federal Reserve by absorbing the Federal Reserve into the Treasury Department a few months ago. Now, why did he do that? Because the Fed, which is really an illegal entity, excuse the sirens, the Federal Reserve System is an illegal entity, which according to the first Constitution, that's the deep state, according to the first Constitution, that's right, it always does it, always. So then talking about the House of Cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family in connection to the greatest global cover-up in human history. So what John F. Kennedy tried to do was to destroy the Federal Reserve, including the CIA, into 1,000 pieces. Well, they blew his head off. And so now you have President Trump a few months ago taking over the Fed by absorbing it into the Treasury Department, led by Steve Mnuchin, who is a great patriot. But now President Trump is now not just the most powerful man on the face of the earth. President Trump actually controls the financial destiny of nations.
Everywhere, yeah.
In other words, President Trump controls all 207 nations around the face of the earth, according to the United Nations. Now, that's why that's so important, because what you saw last night through the debate was absolute lies from Joe Biden, and including this term dark winter, which is a CIA program connected to Johns Hopkins University, including the Bloomberg School of Public Health, where many Mike Bloomberg, a trader, had spent millions of dollars, not only to create this Event 201, going back to October, but going back to 2001 to create Operation Dark Winter. Now, there is a doctor, a mathematician in history, by the name of Dr. Johannes Kepler. He was a great mathematician in the 17th century who had wrote the manifesto, the Kepler conjecture. Now, the Kepler conjecture, in connection to Joe Sleepy Creeping Biden, is a theorem where global patterns of history have now become a global dispattern of corruption. So in that 17th century mind of Dr. Johannes Kepler had said that there is a global pattern of corruption that has created a dysfunctional pattern of political thought. Now, as a side point, the term political or politics comes from the Greek word polite. So what we're seeing in Washington, D.C. is anything but polite. Another topic for another day. So the house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. So then this Dr. Johannes Kepler, along with the Kepler conjecture, wrote a powerful book by the name of Mysterium Cosmos Graphicum. Again, Mysterium Cosmos Graphicum. Graphicum. Now, people may say, well, Bishop, why are you laying foundation concerning this 16th, 17th century mathematician? In order for us to understand what's going on today in the foreground concerning the Biden family, we have to go back to its historical background of how we got to this point of corruption concerning this crime syndicate called the Biden family. So there's a global pattern of corruption that is now called chaos theory, which means every chaos is not necessarily chaos, and every order is not necessarily order. So Joseph Robinette Biden, the most corrupt politician in Washingtonian history, was born in 1942. It's going to blow your mind. The entire bloodline of Joe Biden goes back to 7 and 8 centuries to brutal slave owners out of the British Crown, out of Scotland, who then eventually immigrated to the United States in the early part of the 1800s in the states of Delaware, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. Now, Joe Creepy Sleeping Biden, you cannot remember his left hand from his right toe, is connected to a man by the name of Robert Allen Stanford. And I believe there's a photo that I sent you with Robert Allen Stanford in handcuffs. So then Robert Allen Stanford created the Stanford Capital Management Equity Fund. So then, to understand this complexity of this conspiracy concerning Joe Biden, so he's connected to this individual, Robert Allen Stanford, who is now serving a 110-year prison sentence. Why? Because of Ponzi schemes on such a global level, where he defrauded over 100,000 people around the world, out of between $7 to $8 billion. One of the individuals that he defrauded was a young man by the name of Kobe Bryant in 2011. Kobe Bryant, concerning the Luciferian Project completed, we talked about him when I was on your show the first time. In 2011, Kobe Bryant lost $1.7 million to Robert Allen Stanford, one of the best friends of Joe Biden, including Hunter Biden. So Joe Biden James Biden, the younger brother of Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and the late Beau Biden, who was the attorney general for the state of Delaware, but yet he was lead counsel for this Stanford Equity Fund at the same time. That's illegal. Now, technically, the Stanford Equity Fund, which is now defunct, supposed to be since 2012, was still alive financially until 2015. Well, who sat on that board? The Biden family, collecting millions of dollars through hardworking Americans and people all over the world through these corrupted Ponzi schemes. This is the house of cards concerning the coming fall of the Biden family. So Kobe Bryant lost $1.7 million in 2011, which led partly to his separation from his wife, Vanessa, in 2012. Now, as a quick side note, in 2012, Kobe Bryant, during a protracted period of 7.5 months, stayed at the Standard Hotel, and this is in connection to Joe Biden and the Biden crime syndicate. So then Kobe Bryant stays in the Standard Hotel, which its owners eventually were taken out by the cabal, okay, a few months before the death of Kobe Bryant in an airplane crash, another topic for another day. The Standard Hotel in Hollywood had some very interesting characters living there. A man by the name of Ed Buck, who was found with 3 Black young men dead in his hotel room, the same hotel that Kobe Bryant stayed in 2012. The best friend of Ed Buck is Adam Shifty Schiff, who is a blood relative, okay, of Jacob Schiff, who then in 1917 wrote a $20 million check to Leon Trotsky to give to the Bolshevik devils who took out Tsar Nicholas II and the Romanovs in 1917. Now, this Standard Hotel is not only connected to Adam Schiff and Ed Buck and Jeffrey Epstein, but to the Clintons. The question is, what did Kobe Bryant know? So then getting back to the Bidens, this character, Robert A. Stanford, okay, a member of the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Club of Rome, the Committee of 300, the Hidden Hand. So Joe Biden, his brother James Biden, the younger brother of Joe Biden, including Hunter Crackhead Biden and Beau Biden, all sat on the executive board of the Stanford Capital Management Fund, where Beau Biden, who died in 2015 under mysterious circumstances, and the reason why I say mysterious circumstances, because he had contracted a brain tumor, whereas he was a healthy man up until the year 2013. I'll come back to that because I believe Joe Biden sacrificed his son for power. This is a part of the greatest global cover-up in human history in connection to the coming fall of the Biden crime family. So Joe Biden was best friends with this Ponzi schemer, okay? Now, as a side point, the executive board members on the Stanford Equity Fund, okay, I'm just laying foundation, was Beau Biden in connection to the Beau Biden Foundation. Now, the Beau Biden Foundation for the Protection of Children had Hunter Biden on the board, who still sits on the Beau Biden Foundation for the Protection of Children. But on the laptop where Hunter Biden is revealed of raping young Chinese children. This is the same Beau Biden who is a crackhead. And a lot of people don't like me saying that. People say, well, Bishop, you're supposed to be a minister. I don't, listen, my job, I'm a contract killer. My job is not to have any mercy for witches or warlocks or for foolishness. So then Beau Biden is a pawn of the deep state through his father, okay? As we're talking about the coming fall of the Biden family. So the Beau Biden Foundation for the Protection of Children also has on its board former FBI Director Louis Freeh. Now, if you remember going back to 2011 to the Jerry Sandusky Penn State scandal, where he was arrested, he's serving a 30 to 60-year prison term. He was convicted in 2012 for raping 30 to 60 young kids, young men in showers at Penn State University with Joe Paterno, who was great friends with Joe Biden. Joe Biden, okay, Beau Biden, Hunter Biden, and President Barack Hussein Obama visited Penn State University in the years of 2008, 9, and 2011. That trip in 2011 was a month before the outbreak of the Jerry Sandusky scandal, which took place in November of 2011. October of that year, the month before, Joe Biden met Jerry Sandusky. Now, I'm not trying to put two and two together. What I'm doing is kind of laying the schematical historical ley line so that your listeners can come up with their proper conclusions concerning this greatest global cover-up in human history, including in connection to the Bidens. So Joe Biden was great friends with Jerry Sandusky, and so was Barack Obama. So Jerry Sandusky had a foundation called the Second Mile Foundation. On that board was the late Beau Biden. And Hunter Biden and Joe Biden sat on the board of the Second Mile Foundation, which was responsible for the rape of not just 30 to 60 men that were proven, but hundreds of young men that were raped between 1994 and the year 2010. The question is, what did Joe Biden know? Now Joe Biden wants Jerry Sandusky out of jail, and he wants his friend Bernie Madoff, who is serving a 30 to 60-year prison sentence for Ponzi schemes. Bernie Madoff's organization, the Bernard L. Madoff Equity Fund, which started in 1960 here in New York City, on the board in 2004 was Joseph R. Biden. You're talking about utter corruption, woman of God, at the very core, at the very top, concerning House of Cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Interesting. So in 1989, it gets deeper here. There was a South Korean man by the name of James Park, son-in-law of the billionaire Sun Young Moon of the Moonies, which is a cult in South Korea going back to 1954 of the unification movement, the Moonies. So James Park had created the Paradigm Global Advisory Group, which was later bought out by the Bidens in 2006. Joe Biden, his younger brother James, Hunter Biden, and Beau Biden sat on the board of the Paradigm Global Advisory Group in 1989. And this Paradigm Advisory Group, their money is connected to South Korean intelligence, to the National Intelligence Service, in connection to Chinese intelligence, which is, my sister, the Ministry of State Security, which is the Chinese equivalent of the American CIA. So Joe Biden is up in his neck with these gangsters, these mobsters connected to these world intelligence agencies. So Joe Biden, through the Beau Biden Foundation, these foundations are nothing but shell companies for the distribution of millions of dollars to cover up not just money laundering, child sacrifice, child trafficking, and child pedophilia. So in 1972, it gets deeper here. Listen, as we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history concerning the life of Joe Biden. In 1972, there was a billionaire Pakistani man by the name of Aga Hassan Abidi, company AGHA, Hassan Abidi, company ABEDI. He created the notorious the BCCI Bank, okay, which was headquartered in Luxembourg, including in Karachi, Pakistan, and in London, England.
Yep.
So the BCCI Bank, the Bank of Credit and Commercial International, through the Aga Hassan Abidi family, which was the bank of gangsters and assassins, political jackals. It was the bank for the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, the FBI, including Canadian intelligence, French intelligence, Israeli Mossad, all right, the Russian KGB, which later became the Russian FSB, and South Korean intelligence and Chinese intelligence. Wow. Of money laundering billions of dollars, including drug money, through the BCCI Bank. Why would I bring up this bank in connection to Joe Biden? Because it was this bank, through Hassan Abidi, who had bankrolled the political career of one Joseph Biden to become the senator of the state of Delaware. Even though he never lived in Delaware, he lived in Scranton, Pennsylvania, but he became the senator of the state of Delaware. Other corruption, as we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history, concerning the coming fall of the Biden crime family. So then Hassan Abidi, through the BCCI Bank, now that bank is portrayed in the 2009 movie with Clive Owen called The International. So then the unification movement out of South Korea with Sung Young Moon and the Bidens had money with the Bank of China, the Agricultural Bank of China, including the China Construction Bank and the Industrial Commercial Bank of China, which is all ran by Chinese intelligence, by a man by the name of Chen Wenqi, capital Wenqing, who is great friends with Hunter Biden, the crackhead. So Chen Wenqi, who runs all four of these banks for the People's Republic in China via the MSS, the Ministry of State Security, is also connected with the Bidens in a firm called the Bohaya Harvest Shanghai Equity Group, capital BOHAI, which 10% of the company is owned by Hunter Biden. Now, people are saying, well, Bishop, can you get to the jelly and the donut? Well, I don't want to do that because I want to teach your listeners first how to make the dough in order to get to the jelly. So we have to lay a foundation concerning the coming fall of the Biden crime syndicate. So the Bahia Harvest Group, which took in Hunter Biden. Now, Hunter Biden has no experience in banking. He has no experience in equity funding. He has no experience within the gas industry. He's buying, in other words, the Chinese and later the Ukrainians were buying influence, pay for play, through Joe Sleepy Creeping Biden. And that's why the president called him out last night. Joe Biden is a corrupt politician who lied about fracking. I'll come back to that later on. Boy, you got me excited now, Alpa, as we're talking about not just the greatest global cover-up in human history, but the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Here's a company, again, this Paradigm Global Advisors Group, which was not created by the Bidens, but by James Park. Then the Bidens eventually buy out the group of Paradigm in 2006. That same year, the Rosemont Seneca law firm, okay, the Rosemont Seneca Equity Fund in 2006, which did not become a legal entity until 2009, is ran by Hunter Biden, Christopher Heinz, the stepson of John Kerry, and a young man by the name of Devin Archer. Wait a minute now. So Hunter Biden, Christopher Heinz. Now, Christopher Heinz, Hunter Biden, and Devin Archer sat on the executive board of not just the Heinz Foundation, but the Center for a New American Security, which is connected to the Project for a New American Century, ran by the Central Intelligence Agency. Why would Hunter Biden, Christopher Heinz, and Devin Archer be connected to the CIA? I'll come back to that later. It's corruption at the very core concerning the greatest global cover-up in human history. Now, which brings us to a politician that is good friends, not just with John Kerry, but Joe Biden. This man by the name of William Bulger, capital B-U-L-G-E-R. He is the brother of the former killer and gangster Whitey Bulger. Wait a minute now. So that Joe Biden is connected to mobsters, to killers, including the Lucchese and Gambino crime family here in New York City, okay, including the Colombo family. I'm talking about the Bidens. They're corrupt to the core. And so Joe Biden is connected to this Uranium One deal, not just with the Ukrainians, but to the Russians, where Hillary Jezebel Clinton and President Barack Obama sell 20% of our uranium to Vladimir Putin, okay, in which Vladimir Putin gave Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Global Initiative and the Clinton Foundation a check for $145 million. In other words, this is the foundation of corruption, which brought us to last night's debate concerning Joe Robinette Biden. He's a liar. Oh. So Joe Biden's children also sat on the board of the China Petroleum and Chemical Corporation that's ran by Chen Wengi, who is the head of Chinese intelligence. The Ministry of State Security, which is the Chinese equivalent of the American CIA. It gets deeper here. And so Chen Wengi is connected to Joe Biden at the Bank of China through the Paradigm Global Advisory Group, Rosemont Seneca, that's also connected to the UK-China conference on avian diseases that happened last year on the 23rd of September of 2019, where patient zero contracted COVID-19. Patient zero did not come up out of the wet markets. I tell people, stop.
Yeah.
Patient zero came up out of that UK-China conference, which took place after the China-Vatican agreement. We will go down that road, but which brings us back to the Biden family. The Biden family is connected to a political fixer, a man by the name of Tom Skoda, capital S-C-O-T-T-O. He's the former president, my sister, of New York's Detectives Endowment Association Union that's connected to Tammany Hall, which is not, it's not called Tammany Hall, but it's under another name. Tammany Hall is the left-wing Democratic machine here in New York City. So then Tom Skoda in 2002, one of the best friends of Joe Biden, was a unindicted co-conspirator. He's a co-conspirator, but he's an unindicted co-conspirator by federal prosecutors because of his connection to the Lucchese crime family and the Gambino crime family here in New York City because of Ponzi schemes. Tom Skoda is then connected to Bernie Madoff. It gets deeper now. So the Bernard L. Madoff Investment Security Fund, LLC, was created by Bernie Madoff, whose bloodline goes back to Lothian in Scotland, to the Mayo-Downicki family. Now stay with me. The Mayo-Downicki family, capital Mayo-Downicki, through Goda Mayo-Downicki, whose bloodline had produced Robert Allen Stanford of the Stanford Equity Fund, whose bloodline produced the Madoffs, whose bloodline produced the Robinette family, who married into the Biden family beginning in the 1600s. They're all related by blood, my sister, as we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history. If I'm going too fast, slow me down. So then, the Bidens are not only connected to Tom Skoda, who had bribed union officials here in New York City. Now the Bidens have access to millions of dollars through the embezzlement of pension funds, not just here of workers here in New York City, but are all across the United States of America. The Bidens are corrupt. Now, as a side note, Beau Biden was against his father's dealings and workings, including his brother, Hunter. Now, all of a sudden, Beau Biden dies of brain cancer. Now, I believe that Joe Biden had his son sacrificed. Why do I believe that? Joe Biden is about Joe Biden. He's all about power. Joe Biden doesn't give, and you know what, about his children. His children are suffering from proximal abandonment, where Joe Biden was there physically, but emotionally, the parents were absent. Now, getting back to these mobsters that the Bidens were connected with. So Tom Skoda, including a man by the name of Anthony V. Lotito, capital Lotito. Well, who is Anthony V. Lotito? He is connected to the Gambino crime family, to the Bonanos, to the Lucchese's, and to the Colombos here in New York City, a part of the Italian Fire Commission. In other words, Joe Biden is interwoven with killers and gangsters. As we're talking about House of Cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. And then in 2006, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, along with this Anthony V. Lotito, creates the Globex Financial Advisory Group, the Lion Hall Group, which are now owned by James Biden, the younger brother of Joe Sleepy Creepy Biden. Joe Biden, including the Biden family, owns a company called the AmeriCorps International Securities Company, which is a shell corporation for the distribution of millions of dollars for child trafficking.
Oh, bingo. Yeah.
That's connected to Pizzagate. You got to follow. Oh, it gets deeper here.
This is where the audience are going to really like this, because Pizzagate is just circulating on the internet. And
yeah, exactly. So then, do you have another man by the name of William Bolger? Okay, William Bolger, including a man by the name of James Whitey Bolger. Oh, wait a minute now. So you have William Bolger, who's connected to both John Kerry, the late John McCain, and Joe Biden, whose brother, James Whitey Bolger, was a killer and a gangster, okay? And so the Biden family has multiple foundations, which are shell companies that profit from child trafficking.
Wow.
And child pedophilia. That's why Joe Biden's laptop is a powerful, powerful piece of evidence, because it shows why would Hunter Biden leave his laptop at a store? And listen, this is the reason why we call this the political October surprise. President Trump is going to be reelected.
October. Yeah.
That's it. The surprise is right, the October surprise. So this private equity firm, okay, connected to James Biden, the Globex Financial Advisors, is also connected to the Bank of China, Chinese intelligence. Now, as we move further here, it's going to get uglier here. Now, I believe that your listeners, they're going to need multiple forklifts that pick up their mouths from the floor, what I'm about to say.
I'm drinking water here. It's
Now,
getting
remember
heated.
the Burisma Equity Holdings Group out of Kyiv in the Ukraine. Now, the Burisma Equity Holding Groups is owned by a Russian gangster and oligarch, a man by the name of Mykola Shlovetsky. Now, Mykola Shlovetsky is connected to a bloodline going back to 1705 in Latvia called the Kirchner bloodline. Capital K-U-S-H-N-I-R, which eventually they changed the last three letters of their name to N-E-R, but no relation to Jared Kushner, according to my studies. That is yet remains to be seen. So Mykola Shlovetsky, who's of Khazarian blood, okay, is related to the Kirchner bloodline going back to 1705 to Latvia. Now, Burisma had Hunter Biden, Devin Archer, okay, and Christopher Hines on their executive board. These three young men had no experience within oil and gas. They were there, Sister Soni, because the father of Hunter Biden was the vice president of the United States of America, okay? So, and it gets deeper here. Now, on that board, get ready now, there was the former director of the CIA's counterintelligence program, who is good friends with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. His name is Joseph Coffer Black. Joseph Coffer Black became a Burisma board member in February of 2017. You know, Sister Soni, I love to teach. So Joseph Coffer Black, okay, who is the former director of the CIA's, okay, counterintelligence program from 1999 to 2002. Joseph Coffer Black was also the ambassador at large for counterterrorism for the CIA from 2002 to 2004, which specialized in counterterrorism, cyber security, national security, and foreign affairs, including Middle East and African affairs. Joseph Coffer Black was Mitt Romney's 2011 national security advisor when Mitt Romney was running for president. Joseph Coffer Black also sat on the executive board of Bain Capital, Mitt Romney's former company, which Joe Biden had castrated Mitt Romney in 2011 when Mitt Romney was running for president. But at the same time, Joe Biden has been getting millions of dollars from the same company that he's been castrating, Bain Capital. It's all corruption at the top concerning the House of Cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Quickly here, so in 2012, okay, Joseph Coffer Black was a member of this supervisory board of an offshoot of that BCCI bank from 1972, which is now called the Baltic International Bank out of Latvia. That is the creature of the CIA, which has millions of dollars of Paradigm and Rosemont Seneca money through the Biden family.
Wow.
The Latvian, oh man, I feel an anointing. The Latvian Commercial Bank, ABLV Bank in Latvia, Riga, Latvia, has Biden money. So this Joseph Coffer Black is connected and good friends with an attorney by the name of David Cohen. Now, David Cohen sits on the board of Bain Capital, Mitt Romney's company, and including this David Cohen is related to the wife of Hunter Biden, Melissa Cohen. David Cohen is the former director of the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, and was the supervisor of the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network for the agency. But yet, these devils are intertwined into each other, including the Bidens. So David Cohen is related by blood to the wife of Hunter Crackhead Biden, Melissa Cohen. So this David Cohen once worked and still is working as an attorney in the law firm at Wilmer Hale. Oh my, this gets deeper. Capital WILMER Hale. So the Wilmer Hale law firm, which is connected to David Hale, who's in the bloodline of William Hale. Who's David Hale? H-A-L-E. Glad you asked. David Hale is a former Arkansas municipal judge and former Arkansas banker who was pressured by Bill Clinton and Bill Clinton wanted David Hale to provide a $300,000 illegal loan to Susan McDougal. Jim and Susan McDougal, along with the Clintons, were a part of the Whitewater political scandal in the 1990s. So Jim and Susan McDougal went to prison on, in other words, she fell on her sword for Hillary and Bill and Hillary Clinton. So when we're talking about the coming fall of the Biden crime family, and I'm almost done, this gets even uglier, woman of God. So the Biden family goes back 7 to 8 generations to slave owners. William Biden, going back, my sister, to the 1600s in Scotland, gave birth to Joseph H. Biden through his wife, which owned slaves in the states of Maryland, Delaware, and Pennsylvania, which gave birth to Joseph Lee Biden, which gave birth to Joseph Harry Biden, who then married Mary Elizabeth Robinette. Here comes the Robinette bloodline. And then then they produced a son, Alan Robinette. Wait a minute, why isn't Alan Robinette or Alan Robinette called Alan Robinette Biden? There's a cover up here. So then Alan Robinette, who is a Biden by blood in the state of Maryland, then marries a former slave, a woman by the name of Dorcas Johnson, whose nickname is Darky. Wait a minute now. In the state of Maryland, it was legal for non-Black people to marry Black people during that time, going back in the 1800s. So this woman, Dorcas Darky Johnson, had married into both the Biden and the Robinette bloodlines. The Irish term, it gets deeper here, the Irish definition. Now, as a side note, the term definition produces a word divination. Mm-hmm. So you have to understand, my sister, that these words like divination or definition. So definition then ultimately becomes divination, or witchcraft, another topic for another day. So let's talk about the house of cards as we end this today, concerning the coming fall of the Biden crime family. So this bloodline full of slave owners had owned a woman by the name of Dorcas Darky Johnson. And the term darky in Irish comes from the Irish word Kieran, Kieron, okay, which means dark matter, like Black Lives Matter, okay? So the Biden bloodline is full of corruption and full of slave owners, which means Joe Biden is a complete fraud. He says you ain't Black if you're voting for President Trump. And it was this same Joe Biden who in 1974 was in favor of busing segregation. This was the same Joe Biden 20 years later in 1994, who along with Bill Clinton and his devil of a wife, Hillary Clinton, passed the 3 strikes and you're out law, the crime bill, which sent 2.7 million Black men to prison. For what? For having an ounce of crack cocaine. Whereas the major distributors would only get 3 to 5 years. Now, don't get me wrong, sister. Listen, a crime is a crime. If you commit a crime, you have to do the time. I don't have a problem with that. But it was this Joe Biden who said that Black men and women are super predators. This man wants Black people to vote for him, but he's calling us super predators, okay? As we're talking about the House of Cards, the coming fall of the crime, of this Biden crime syndicate. So the Beau Biden Foundation, I cannot leave that, for the protection of children, has on their board the former FBI director, Louis Freeh. Now, in yesterday's New York Post news, there was an article of a man who was a graduate of Penn State University, a man by the name of Tony Bobulinski. Allow me to spell his last name. Capital Bobulinski. Toby Bobulinski. Now, what does he have to do with the Clinton and the Biden crime family? Glad you asked. So then this Mr. Bobulinski is a former wrestler at Penn State University who spent 4 years in the Navy, insists that he has evidence to back up the charges that Hunter Biden was involved, not just in money laundering, but the trafficking of children all around the world, beginning with China. Now, this Bobulinski character is connected to Jerry Sandusky, who sat on the board one time of the Beau Biden Foundation before the conspiracy, the scandal broke in November of 2011. Wait a minute now. They had a known child raper, Jerry Sandusky, the Bidens did, who sat on the Beau Biden Foundation. And when he was exposed in November 2011, of course, they took him off. So then, in my conclusion here, guess what is the address of the Beau Biden Foundation? It's not an actual address. It is P.O. Box 7819. Wait a minute now. You're getting millions and millions of dollars from people all over the world, but your address is a P.O. box. In other words, it's a shell company for the sale, the distribution, and the child trafficking of children. These are shell companies, okay? As we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history in connection to the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Give me a few minutes before we get the floor.
Do you want me to show the screen? The screen?
Yes, can you do that? Yes, absolutely. And I can continue just to talk. So to your audience here, now stay right there, my sister. That's the logo for the Center for a New American Security. So the late Beau Biden was a board member. Hunter Biden was a board member. And Christopher Heinz, the stepson of John Kerry and the son of Teresa Heinz of the Heinz billionaire family that's connected to the Heinz Ketchup Corporation, are board members for a center, the Center for a New American Security, which is a CIA shell company. Okay. Now you look at that logo, that symbol for the Center for a New American Security. Excellent work there, sister. It also represents the same structure of an insignia or logo of the Beau Biden Foundation. So if you get an opportunity, Sister Soni, if you can bring up the logo for the Beau Biden Foundation, okay? Now, if it's not there, we can go on, we can move on. So to your listeners, if you guys get a chance, look up the logo or the insignia for the Beau Biden Foundation. Oh yeah, go back to that other picture that you had of all those people there. There you go. Excellent work there, sister. So then the American Security Foundation that you guys just saw a minute ago, the Center for a New American Security. Now, if you can go back to that photo of all those politicians that you had, sister, right there. So that represents the project for the new American century. All these devils you see here are deep state swamp creatures. Every one of them, okay, are against the president, okay? These were these 24 people, including Barack Obama, the Rockefellers, the Bushes, the Kerrys, the Bidens. They're all deep state creatures who absolutely hate President Donald J. Trump, okay? Absolutely. So as we come in here now, Joe Biden, if you can go to some of those, there's a document that shows, right there you go. Beau Biden, the Beau Biden Foundation logo, okay? It almost looks like, shaped like the Center for a New American Security logo. So the Beau Biden logo for the Beau Biden Foundation connected to the logo for the Center for a New American Security Foundation that's connected to the Project for a New American Century are all creatures and shell companies of the CIA for child trafficking, child sacrifice, and child pedophilia. They've been doing this. Oh, this is deep. Beau Biden, the Security for a New American Security Equity Fund, which are shell companies for the distribution of children all over the world. When these children die, then their organs are extracted for organ harvesting. Beau Biden was taken out because of what Beau Biden knew about his family. His father had sacrificed him. Now remember, oh my God, it gets deeper here. So my sister, can you go to the first, let's see here. Yeah, click on that. Click on, there you go. If you can expand that, woman of God, that is a subpoena to testify before a grand jury. This subpoena was sent from the United States District Court in DC to the Mac shop, owner who worked on Hunter Biden's laptop. So this is evidence. Now you got people like Adam Schiff are saying, well, this is a Russian hoax and an Iranian hoax. Stop. Anything that deals with exposing these devils, oh, it's a hoax. Anything dealing with President Trump, it's got to be true. See, these are devils. See the insignia, the signature, okay, of the deputy of the clerk sending a subpoena to the owner of the Mac shop who worked on the laptop of one Hunter Biden. Now, according to my contacts, you can stay right there. According to my contacts in the federal government, I have a contact one here at the FBI office in New York City, one at the FBI office in LA. They said that this is an authentic subpoena that was sent to the owner of the Mac PC shop. Okay. Now, this individual who owns this shop in Wilmington, Delaware, sent the information to the FBI back in 2019. Why did the FBI sit on it until a week ago?
Yeah.
Because the FBI, okay, they're swamp creatures.
Yeah.
Now, the contacts I have, these two men, they are true patriots, okay? But they're telling me that their life is on the line for even sharing this information with them, and I will never reveal their names. So then the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, was designed, okay, back in its inception by the US federal government, was designed to be a non-political entity. Now the FBI, the CIA, the Justice Department, they've all been weaponized to take down the president. So this individual who owns this PC shop in Wilmington, Delaware, saw stuff on this laptop, thousands of emails, pictures and videos of Hunter Biden raping underage Chinese children.
Disgusting.
So then, now, when Trump put Biden on the spot last night, Donald Trump destroyed Joe Biden last night. Donald Trump, and I love, President Trump could have went after him forcefully, but he was cool, he was presidential, he was reserved. And he said to Joe Biden, wait a minute now, if you get it, and you have an opportunity to clean this up, Joe. And Joe Biden couldn't answer that because Joe Biden knows that he knew about his son's dealings, not just with Ukraine and China, but with the raping of young Chinese children at the hands of Hunter Biden. Christopher Heinz is involved. Devin Archer is involved. They're all involved. And this is evidence. Okay. Now, can you go to another? There should be a bill of lading or a certificate. No, not that one. Go back a little. Right there. Yeah. Click on that. If you can expand that, my sister. This is the bill from the action. If you can, there you go. At the Mac shop. Okay. It gives an address there. Okay. I believe Trolley Square in Wilmington, Delaware. Hunter Biden's name is there, okay? Now, people say, why isn't Hunter Biden's address revealed? No, because the Mac shop, including Fox News, would be legally liable. So if you can come back and expand that, come back, bring that back up, please, and expand that. Now, when you look at this, that's Hunter Biden's signature. This is what we call the preponderance of evidence, okay? It's there. So then Joe Biden is in trouble. So then Joe Biden, now remember he said a word last night, my sister. Okay. Now, if you can, one more time, if you can go to a photo of Joe Biden taking a photo with his son, Hunter Biden, and I believe, well, let's stay right there. Go back to, if you can expand it, I'll come back to Joe Biden and his son and with that golf picture. Man, it's getting deeper here. These are names of the executive board members of the former foundation of the Second Mile Foundation that was created by Jerry Sandusky. And if you can expand that picture just a little larger, my sister, those names are also connected to those in the Democratic National Convention Party. All these names are connected to Joe Biden, the late Beau Biden, including Hunter Crackhead Biden, including Barack Obama. That's why Barack Obama and Joe Biden have been mum so quiet concerning Jerry Sandusky. Now, there's another picture similar to that. If you can go to that, there's a similar photo There you go. And if you can expand that too, sister, you're doing a magnificent job. That's Jerry Sandusky in the upper left-hand corner. These are more state central board directors, okay, all over the country that represent the defunct 2 Mile or Second Mile Foundation, which was a front for child trafficking and the exploitation of children. But this Jerry Sandusky, before he was exposed in November 2011, sat on the Beau Biden Foundation, along with Louis Freeh, the former director of the FBI. The same Louis Freeh who had investigated Jerry Sandusky. They're all in the same bed, my sister, concerning the House of Cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Now, one more photo before I get back to my teaching. You see, you got me excited here today. Go to this photo of Joe Biden with his son and 2 other individuals at a golf course, okay? Now, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and I believe if you can expand that, yes, if you can. So these 2 individuals, okay, are Ukrainian oligarchs who sat on the executive board. The 2 men on, be to my left and to your listeners' right. Okay, these 2 individuals sat on the executive board called a company called Burisma Holdings. Joe Biden has been lying to the American people. Listen, let me wipe the anointing off of me. Listen, I want you guys to listen to me right now. And sister, I'm almost done. Give me about 10 minutes. Joe Biden had lied through his teeth, stating that he had no knowledge of his son's business dealings in the Ukraine, in China, but more specifically to the Burisma executive board. But he's playing golf with 2 individuals who sit on the Burisma executive board. So Americans, especially Black people, how can you vote for Joe Biden? Joe Biden, oh my God, now stay right there. Now, Joe Biden said last night, and it's going to blow your mind, Sister Soni, as we're talking about in my conclusion, the House of Cards, the coming downfall of the Biden crime family. Joe Biden said a word last night called dark winter. On the 22nd of June to the 23rd of June of 2001, 3 months before 9/11, the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, in connection and conjunction to the Center for Strategic and International Studies at the Johns Hopkins University Center for Civilian Biodefense Studies, in connection, my sister, to the ANSER Institute, capital ANSER, that's connected to the Department of Homeland Security, and the Oklahoma City National Memorial Institute for the Prevention of Terrorism. Wait a minute now. So the Department of Homeland Security was already in place 3 months before 9/11. In other words, they knew 9/11 was going to happen. So when Joe Biden said last night concerning these words, dark winter. So dark winter is called Operation Dark Winter. It is a simulation program, my sister, for the prevention of a bioterrorist attack on America. So Operation Dark Winter, and last night Joe Biden said the words dark winter during the debate. So Operation Dark Winter is a simulated covert smallpox attack on the United States for America, Dark Winter. The first exercise, my sister, examines how the federal government would respond to a bioterrorist terrorist attack of a highly contagious contagion, COVID-19.
Wow.
So then this Operation Dark Winter, what Joe Biden said last night, Dark Winter, was designed to increase awareness of the scope and character of the threat posed by, get this, biological weapons among senior national security experts in order to improve the prevention and response strategies of the American government through Operation Dark Winter on the 22nd of June to the 23rd of June 2001, 3 months before the advent of 9/11. In connection to the Center, almost done, for Civilian Biodefense Strategies through the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, and the Pentagon, 3 months before 9/11. Now, my sister, from 2001, and I'm done, to October of 2019, the same CIA, the same National Security Agency, in connection to the Pentagon and the Department of Homeland Security, who created Operation Dark Winter, sponsored financially, including the Zuckerberg Initiative through Facebook, and the Open Society Foundation, George Soros, and the Bill and Melinda Robin Williams Gates Foundation, created Event 201, which was a simulated conference on the 18th of October last year in 2019. Now the question, oh, this is going to blow your minds. Oh my God. See, you got me so excited. Let me wipe the anointing off of me. So then, as we are bringing this powerful teaching to a close, House of Cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family. Why is it called Event 201? It's called Event 201, my sister, because Bill Gates, Melinda Gates, through the Bill and Melinda Robin Williams Gates Foundation, had registered Event 201 on July 20th, 2019 in Washington, D.C. Why that date, July 20th, 2019? Glad you asked. That is the date which is the specific 201st day of 2019.
Wow.
So Event 201 was established through the incorporation through both Microsoft and through the Gates Foundation in Washington, D.C. on the 20th of July, 2019, which is the 201st day of the year of 2019. So Event 201 was in preparation to activate Operation Dark Winter.
Wow.
During the month of March 2020, when America was shut down. So in my conclusion, Event 201 was also sponsored by the Johns Hopkins Center for Security and Partnership with the World Economic Forum, ran by the Rothschild dynasty out of Eastern, Central, and Western Europe, in connection to the Gates Foundation. Event 201 was a live simulation here in New York City on the 18th of October, 2019, to prepare for the upcoming plandemic concerning COVID-19, and I'm done. So then, Event 201, which was a registered entity on the 20th of July, 2019, which is the 201st day of 2019. 3 months later, in October of 2019, on the 18th of October 2019, Event 201 was the birth child of the activation of Operation Dark Winter, which Joe Biden gave in code last night at the debate. Who was involved with Operation Dark Winter, which gave birth to Event 201? The Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, the FBI, the Justice Department, yes, Department of Homeland Security, including DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Activity Agency, and IAPA, the Intelligence Advanced Research Projects Activity Agency, DARPA through the Pentagon and through military intelligence, IAPA through U.S. Intelligentsia, CIA, NSA, Office of ONI, okay, with them being under the Office of National Intelligence. They were here in New York City that took part of Event 201 in connection to Johns Hopkins University, how Johns Hopkins, with Bill Gates' money, George Soros' money, could create contact tracing HR 6666, which this Black congressman, Bobby Rush out of Illinois, and former Black Panther, who had his own best friend, Fred Hampton, assassinated. Another topic for another day. Bobby Rush wrote the law, but he didn't design the contact tracing program of HR 6666. It was these deep state devils through both Operation Dark Winter 2001 and Event 201, October 18, 2019. Through the Bloomberg School of Public Health, led by the former mayor of New York City, Mini Mike Bloomberg, with the financial help of the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. Wait a minute. So Dr. Priscilla Chan, the wife of Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, who is censoring conservative thought. Anything dealing with Donald Trump, they want to expose. Just like they would with what's his name, Giuliani. We don't care who Giuliani slept with. We don't care. But this is a response from the deep state because they don't have nothing on Trump and they're mad at Trump for exposing Hunter Biden. So Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, through the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, including Twitter, including Instagram, they are all controlled by the Central Intelligence Agency. And in my conclusion at Event 201, they also designed the patent application through Microsoft of WO 2020 060606, which is a cryptocurrency system, body activating data, whereas you can get paid money, okay, if you receive a particular Microsoft chip into your body, that you become an illegal entity of the system of 060606. Guess, oh my God, guess who else was sponsoring this bill through Microsoft? A man by the name of Mr. Steve Ballmer, who is the former vice president who later became the chairman of Microsoft, who is now the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers. 99% of his team is Black men. And my sister, this is the house of cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family, and I thank you.
Oh my gosh, Bishop, first of all, you've left me speechless. When we've been researching us conspiracy theories, which is where I learned about you, we know that the swamp was deep, but I'm sure my viewers and your viewers will just take a deep breath now and say it's so deep. And you've given us a thorough analysis of just how deep the swamp is, because within every single establishment, you have just relayed how everything is so interconnected. And as you know, as I've told you I've been brought into this madness when I woke up because of the children, and you have just revealed some heartbreaking and affirmed heartbreaking stories about the Hunter Biden story with regards to child trafficking. This is going to come around to the question about Q, which I asked you last time.
Oh, yeah.
We are in my journey. You know, I've been following the Q movement and Trump's movement, and how all the countries in the world, all the nations have capitulated, and everything that's happening right now to President Trump and everything that's happening right now is just playing out because he has all the declassification of information. So we have got this story, obviously, where the mainstream media owned by 6 corporations in the world, who are obviously deep state and against Trump. So this is why we are in this antagonistic warfare and psychological warfare, where people will just not get to the grain of information like this, and like that you have shared with us today. It's so thoroughly, Bishop. So I'm eternally grateful. And you know, there's so many pieces that have connected even more. I mean, and it's just mind-blowing. But where now? I mean, there's rumors about the election's not even actually going to be taking place because of the information that's going to be exposed. I had an inkling about a few months ago that that Donald Trump's going to get the coronavirus, right? And that is to show people about his recovery. I mean, everything that's happening right now is to show people. So the hunt for Red October in our research, and all the anons or the patriots or, you know, avid Trump supporters woke up and started, you know, going down the rabbit hole and finding out more and more information about him, and it leads you to so many different paths. But this is all playing out to show people, Bishop. And there are a lot of people on the planet still who are so ensconced in the fact that there's a big boogeyman virus out there, and the government is there to sort of tell us everything, and we don't believe in conspiracy theories. So information that you've provided today is mind-blowing for people like myself who just likes connecting the dots. This is insane. But going back to the Q movement and how this hunt for Red October has been talked about for quite some time, and we've been talking about this since July. First of all, my question is, I asked you this last time, what are your thoughts on the Q movement?
That's an excellent question. I'm glad that you are asking me that question. The Q movement actually began after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. A lot of people thought in the political minds that Q began after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. That's not true. It began after Lincoln's assassination by a group of patriot generals from the North, because they wanted to protect not only the first Constitution, right, but also the first Declaration of Independence and the first Bill of Rights. And the reason why I say first Declaration of Independence and first Bill of Rights, because there are not only 2 constitutions, but there's 2 Declaration of Independence and 2 Bill of Rights. Okay, so the Q movement began as early as 1865, right after Lincoln was assassinated, by a group of powerful patriot generals from the North, right after the advent of the Civil War, because these Q generals hated the international bankers of the Rothschilds and the Oppenheimers, right, and the Warburgs. So the Q movement was conceived in the hearts, okay, of Northern generals in 1865. And then from there, throughout the paradigm of our political history, the Q movement has been waiting for the right political leader to really activate Q, okay? Now, why the letter Q? Now, when you dissect the letter Q in the etymology of it, it means to bring darkness to light. Yeah. It's a Jewish geometrical code word meaning to bring darkness to light. So from Lincoln, then we go to centuries later, decades later, okay, to President John F. Kennedy. Now, John F. Kennedy was a Democrat. But you know what, Sister Soni, I'm so glad that you're asking me this question. President Kennedy represented a generation of Democrats that had some sanity. Now, we don't agree with them. We didn't agree with their political stance, but the Democratic Party during the time of John F. Kennedy had some sense. But these Democrats today, they've lost their minds. So Q has been designed from Lincoln to now to Trump to protect American sovereignty by exposing the Baphomet Luciferian cabal from the left that took out Lincoln, that took out John F. Kennedy. And I'm going to say something too. I would not be surprised if JFK Jr. is alive. I was sent a photo by someone.
Yeah.
And again, it may sound far-fetched.
No, that's been, sorry to interject.
Yeah,
that is something that's been circulating on social media for quite some time. I've talked about it in numerous of my discussions with various people that have said, that JFK is alive, and within the Q drops. In fact, the person that's navigating Q is allegedly JFK himself. There's been pictures of him at some of the Trump rallies as supposedly Vincent Fushka. And there's pictures of him and his wife at the rallies behind Trump, where they've dissected the pictures of JFK and aligned it with him at this rally. So there's so many, that news has just been flooding social media. But the QAnon has been tainted as a vicious conspiracy theory and almost mocked at. So we here at grassroots level that are, discerning all this information, Bishop, have trouble within our own microscopic units to kind of convey this information and not look like complete, tinfoil hats, crazy people. But right now, the way things are going with the way Trump is handling the elections, the presidential rally, and the way that Biden is being exposed, I wouldn't be surprised that the election is not even going to even happen. We are what's the next day, 23rd. So we are literally 10 days away from the election, 10, 11 days from the election. And with the exposure of these horrible crimes, I mean, I didn't know to the extent, I mean, it almost surpasses the Clintons, because the things that another question, what are your thoughts? So first of all, first question was that we're speaking about the Q movement, and thank you for informing us that this goes back even further than we thought, than JFK. So I didn't know that. Yes, but where Trump's involved, this has been thought that he is and has been a part of this for 20 years and has been working with the alliance undercover and getting, it's like the art of war, know your enemy. So he's been, aligning with the Epsteins, the Clintons, and they thought he was his friend, and, the American dream. And he's in every single rap song, everybody wants to be like Donald J. Trump. So he was this huge personality and then suddenly completely vilified 4 years ago when he decided to run for presidency. And it just goes to show the cabal constructed subliminal programming that the media has so successfully orchestrated and engineered for people to actually react so badly at the name of Donald Trump. So now there's so much circulating, people are getting shut down, censorship as it is highest. My Instagram got completely whacked. I wouldn't be surprised, I don't want to say anything, but everyone's that I know that are fighting for this truth are getting whacked, when they're exposing stuff. But where do you think now, in your sort of conclusive opinion, because we've been on for quite some time, and I'm aware that I want to keep the listeners, upbeat. And just in the final conclusion, what are you expecting in the last 10 days now?
President Trump is going to have to be very, very careful. Don't go out to any restaurants, Mr. President. Don't be very careful who you allow in your inner circle, especially in the Oval Office. There is a woman that was killed. This is a part. see, Joe Biden is a creature of the CIA, bought and sold by the agency through the BCCI Bank, through this Hassan Abidi going back to 1972. A woman by the name of Nelia Hunter Biden was killed on the 18th of December, 1972, who was the first wife of Joe Biden. At the time, Joe Biden had an extramarital affair with a woman by the name of Jill Jacobs, whose father was connected to the Jewish mob, not just here in New York City, but also in Baltimore, Maryland. So Jill Jacobs is now the second wife of Joe Biden, Dr. Jill Biden. Joe Biden had a relationship with Jill Jacobs in 1972. Now, according to the records in the state of Delaware, Joe Biden, it said, married Jill Jacobs in 1977. But in actuality, they got married in January of 73. Why lie about that?
They lie about everything. They've lied
Yeah,
about.
so exactly. So this car crash that Joe Biden's first wife was involved in that killed their daughter Naomi, both Bo and Hunter, as little children, were critically injured in that automobile accident. So Jill Biden had an affair whose former name is Jacobs. Jill Biden was formerly married to a man by the name of Bill Stevenson, capital Stevenson, who said that Joe Biden hired his wife to be the nanny for Bo and Hunter. But yet, she becomes the wife of Joe Biden after the death of his first wife, Nelia Hunter Biden. His wife was a sacrifice. It was a satanic Luciferian sacrifice in order for Joe Biden to escalate into American political power. Jill Biden is a deep state asset that is controlling Joe Biden. And I'm going to say something that may sound crazy to a lot of your listeners. I don't even think that what we saw last night was Joe Biden.
I was just coming to that. That was going to be my next question. That at the moment, the people that we've got on the global stage, such as Biden, Obama, I don't think that they're just doubles. I mean, there's a lot of people saying clones, but that's ambiguous. But body doubles, you see pictures, their earlobes, everything's different about him from what it was like a few years ago. The first presidential debate a few weeks ago as well, if you looked at his earlobes here and the wire that was coming from his sleeves and from his neck, so these are all telling signs that actually Trump has a handle of this and this is playing out. This is not the real one. So these people are so much circulating that they're already being executed, and this is now just coming out because of the declassification of information. So when Trump took power and when it was in office from day one, he cleaned the swamp within the first 6 months. So he cleaned the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, and all these things that are being revealed and being played out on the media. And also there's this murmur that Trump actually has a handle of the media now. And now it's just slowly, subliminally being breadcrumbs so that people are like, oh, censorship. Oh my God, what's happened to freedom of censorship? Oh my God, this is happening. And it's at a slow pace to show people the atrocities, the corruption that has been happening at a horrendous scale, more than anyone can fathom.
And can I say this too, sister? There are 3 geographical locations, and I'm telling you, you're hitting so many powerful nerves with me. There are 3 former geographical locations around the world that were former powers that controlled the world. Washington, D.C., City of London, and the Vatican. So Washington, D.C., the home of the global military industrial complex, the City of London, where you are the global financial center, and in the Vatican, the world religious order. All three hit by COVID-19.
Yeah.
Pope, a few months ago, Pope Francis had supposedly spoken from his balcony in the Vatican Square. And when it was, then it was almost like a movie or a holograph.
Yeah.
Now there are rumors within Q that the real Vatican, the real Pope Francis is dead. He was taken out.
As well as our queen, the queen.
That's right. And so when you look, and this is powerful here, when you look at Joe Biden, see, when Joe Biden first was elected senator in 1972, him and John Kerry ran the Foreign Relations Committee in the Senate, and Joe Biden was the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, which was investigating the BCCI scandal in 1972, where the CIA, the Mossad, KGB, Russian intelligence, Chinese intelligence, including drug cartels, were money laundering through that bank, but it was the same bank who financially put up the seed money to begin the political career of one Joe Biden. Joe Biden squashed that investigation. So Joe Biden and his relationship to Hassan Abidi of the BCCI Bank, formerly out of Luxembourg, Karachi, Pakistan, in London, also was money laundering, including Joe Biden, to the Contras in the 1980s. Whereas the Contras were distributing crack cocaine to South Central LA during the 1980s. And that's why Gary Webb got assassinated, okay? He was a writer for the San Jose Mercury News. They say he killed himself, but the bullet hole was in the back of his head, but yet he killed himself. So Joe Biden is involved, money laundering of drugs, crack cocaine, okay, in bed with gangsters and oligarchs and Chinese intelligence devils and intelligence agencies all over the world, including Mossad, including the drug trade that the Bidens are getting rich of. They call him Lunchbox Joe. Well, that lunchbox is worth over $165 million. So Black people, hear me. Your families have been destroyed because of the crack cocaine epidemic in the 1980s and 90s. Who was responsible for that? Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. Joe Biden, okay, in the Central Intelligence Agency, used the Bloods and the Crips out of Los Angeles and every Blood and Crip gang throughout the United States, for the distribution of crack cocaine. Why, Sister Alpa Soni? To destroy Black America, to neutralize us, which began in the early 70s. That's why the FBI took out the Black Panthers, because the Black Panther Party was protecting their communities from the onslaught of drugs. Now it took place another 10, 15 years through the CIA. Joe Biden is complicit in the destruction of Black communities all over the country because of his connection to the CIA through the Iran-Contra affair in the 1990s.
Yeah.
See, Joe Biden's involved, but yet Joe Biden says, well, he's a friend of Black. You ain't Black. I'm sick of Joe. Joe Biden is a fraud. Let me say it again. Joe Biden is a fraud. It's my job as a contract killer. I am what you call a biblical John Wick. My job is to destroy the deep state. My job is to decapitate its head so we at QAnon can protect the president. That's why that's why Q, according to your powerful question, Q was designed by true generals who were patriots.
Yes.
And then Q took off during the Dwight Eisenhower, Eisenhower. So Q took off during the 1950s, during the Dwight D. Eisenhower presidential years in the 1952 to 1960. Because Dwight, I'm going to reveal something to you that's going to be powerful. President Dwight D. Eisenhower was one of the main Q generals during World War II who became president. Dwight D. Eisenhower was a true patriot who warned concerning the coming military industrial complex. Any one of your beautiful listeners can go on YouTube and type in Dwight D. Eisenhower's speech concerning the U.S. military industrial complex. Dwight D. Eisenhower was warning JFK, even though we're in different parties, but I'm warning you, the cabal is going to take you out if you shut down the war in Vietnam. You see, the global cabal, they have initiated 25,000 wars in history. Wow. 25,000 wars. Why? Because of greed. They don't care about your child or mine. They want to destroy us.
It's demonic.
Okay. So Q really took off during the presidential years of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Okay. General Patton was a Q general. Yes. General Patton was a Q general. Douglas MacArthur was a Q patriot. MacArthur hated Truman because Truman was of the deep state. Harry S. Truman, talking about give him hell, Harry Truman was a puppet of the deep state. But General Patton was a Q general, okay? Douglas MacArthur was a Q general who said, I'd rather resign than to give in to this deep state president. Whereas Truman wanted MacArthur to kiss his behind. MacArthur says, I'm not doing that. I'm going to protect my men during the later stages of World War II in the Philippines. So Truman fired him. So these are deep state devils on the left going back to the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Now we got great Q generals today. Okay, General Mike Flynn is a patriot.
He's amazing.
He's a threat to Barack Obama. What does he know about Barack Obama? Barack Obama was a creation of the Central Intelligence Agency. Every president, I'll say this and let you go. Every president has to get a DNA testing done through the CIA. Barack Obama's father, it was not from Kenya.
No.
Barack Obama's father is out of Malaysia. Mm-hmm. Barack Obama is not an American. Mm-hmm. Barack Obama, okay, his wife, Michelle Obama, okay, Valerie June Jarrett, who was born in Shiraz, Iran. These are deep state devils who are eugenicists. Now we go back to even to the McCarthy era when Senator McCarthy was exposing all of these red shirts, these communists out of Hollywood. Good, because Hollywood today is nothing but a communist front. So they're so afraid of Trump.
Thank you for saying
because that. And you know what he did? Trump is so smart. What he did, I'll let you go. What President Trump did, Trump was never a part of any club, but he knows the in and outs of the club. He knows Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and the Clintons and their dirt and the Obamas. So they're so afraid
of what he knows.
Of Trump.
Yeah, and what he knew, yeah. But how he did and how he has orchestrated this whole. So you going back to Q and it being a lot longer than this 20-year undercover military operation. And that's just what's blown me away today, actually, because this hasn't been a short journey. It's not just the 4 years that he has been in term. This has been the work of patriots, the military, for a long time. And it's so good to see it coming into fruition now. And light is winning, like I said, dark to light. And for the viewers, for your listeners as well, my audience, that there's been powerhouse of information shared today.
Ooh,
And
that was powerful.
it was
And not to cut you off, can I say this real quick to your listeners? Now, General Joseph McCarthy, okay, of the great state of Wisconsin, he was senator of the state of Wisconsin from 1947 to 1957. He was a patriot. He exposed communists, okay, like Alger Hiss, who was working for the Russians. Joseph McCarthy exposed the communist, socialist, industrial complex out of Hollywood. Oh yeah, he created the blacklist. Hollywood, let me tell you something. There's going to be, and I predict, hear me tonight, to all your listeners, there will be a second phase of a blacklist in Hollywood. When President Trump is reelected, there's going to be a second phase of a purge in Hollywood of communist directors, communist writers, communist producers, because Hollywood, instead of through the Russians manipulating Hollywood like they did in the 40s and 50s, now it's Indochina. China runs Sony Music. China runs Sony, the Sony movie studio. So what Trump is doing is intelligence. So there's going to be a second phase of a purge in Hollywood, and I believe Joe Biden is assassinated already. Let me tell you something. And I've been hearing rumors that Mike Pence, that's not the real Mike Pence. I don't know if that's true or not, but when I'm saying about Joe Biden, I don't believe that's Joe Biden that spoke last night. I believe the real Joe Biden was taken out. Yes, absolutely.
As well as Hillary.
That's when Q began, because going back to Abraham Lincoln, now it began to take shape during the 1950s, from 52 to 60, under the Eisenhower administration, who warned America concerning the military-industrial complex. Okay. Then Kennedy came, wanted to destroy the CIA into 1,000 pieces. Who paid for that assassination? Well, a man by the name of H.L. Hunt, who went on to supply $100,000 a year to the Nation of Islam, to the KKK, and to George Lincoln Rockwell, okay, to the American Nazi Party. The deep state devils on the left playing all these organizations against them, including the Black Panther Party. That's why I'm a threat, because I can't be bought. There's some radio stations here with CBS and NBC. They wanted to recruit me a year ago, was going to give me 6 figures. I turned them down. Why? Because they did not want me to make mention of Jesus Christ or the Word of God or President Donald J. Trump. I said, no, thank you. I can't be bought. I'm Q. So then, in my conclusion concerning House of Cards, the coming fall of the Biden crime family, they will fall. My sister, it's been a powerful, robust discussion, and I'm looking forward to coming back on your show.
I am humbled, first of all. I am in awe of your knowledge and just how thorough and intricate and powerful of how you piece everything together. Bishop, it's an honor to have you on my show, and I think we need a part 3, because we're going to see how it's going to pan out. And I think your audience, for the first one, it was just on your channel, so now my channel's up finally. I'm just really, really grateful, Bishop, and we look forward to doing part 3.
We look forward to doing a part 3 of volume 3. Concerning the greatest global cover-up in human history. We talked about
quite a lot to talk about. Yeah,
it's a lot. That's a lot, but it's to understand this from a political perspective, we have to dissect it from a spiritual paradigm. That's one layer at a time. Detail. Yeah.
And I say this a lot to my friends. Look, you can't just be surface level. This is so 3D. You have to understand the spiritual paradigm and the root, and everything that we see is not, it's not the truth. It's all linked, and it's layers and layers and layers and layers and layers, and it goes back thousands of years, not
Yes.
just hundreds, thousands of years. And when we understand the root
Yeah.
of how everything is happening, I mean, there's just a lot of demonic
Oh my.
activity here at play, and it's just all being played out on the global stage. Now, people at grassroots, and I use the word grassroots because just like myself, an ordinary simpleton, I say that in respect for myself, and just being so oblivious to all of this. And for me, this awakening has been really, really sharp, but I have had an inner standing very quickly. And so
Yes.
I have been able to, and there's various reasons where my listeners know how and why that's happened. But what you have pieced together and connected everything, it makes me think this is how movies are made. This is where the Hollywood communist groups of
Yes.
people, do they just come up and sit in their studio room and just write scripts out of thin air because they're so creative? No, because this crap happens actually in real life, and we are led to believe that this just happens in the movies.
And can I say this too? And to the children that are out there and young people, Hollywood through Image Comics created what they call the wicked in the divine. The Wicked and the Divine. It was written by Carrion Gillen and James McKenzie. Okay. So the Wicked and the Divine, it talks about there's a group of deep staters called the Pantheon, where you have 12 Pantheon individuals that's chosen by the deep state who begin as a normal person, but they become separated gods and goddesses or demons. They become the body of a different gender.
Yes.
So it's called the wicked and the divine. Whereas in the comic book, after they are chosen and transgendered as pantheons, then they only live for an additional 2 years. Chadwick Boseman, Kobe Bryant. So then the chosen 12 people who are mocking the 12 apostles, because anything that God has in truth, Satan has a counterfeit.
Yes.
So these 12 pantheons are merged, they become one with the spirit of a deity, a demon, whereas that deity transforms their gender.
That's
From
baffling.
Zion to Zaya, Dwayne Wade, Magic Johnson's son, they buck break men so that these men become pantheons through the wicked and the divine. This, I'm telling you, I'm only 57 years old. I feel like I'm 37. I've never seen this level of darkness in my life, woman of God.
Why don't we actually have that as a starting point for part 3? Dissecting Hollywood. I think that's just a huge conversation, a couple of hours conversation in itself, and going more to the spiritual paradigms.
Yes.
Bishop, it has been an honor. Once again, I repeat myself, but thank you very much. You're amazing, and God bless you and protect you.
Thank you. I'm not amazing. Jesus Christ and him crucified, he's amazing. I'm just a servant. The Lord doesn't need me, but I certainly need him. And I'm so honored to be back on your powerful show, Sister Alpa. You have done a magnificent job, and I applaud you and we celebrate you. And my sister, I love you.
Thank
And
you.
you are altogether beautiful in the Lord and naturally as well. And I'm just so honored to be your mentor, your brother in the Lord. And we're just looking forward to volume 3, right? Of the greatest global cover-up in human history. Thank you so much.
Larry Gaiters and Alpa will be back soon. ALPA Soni. Signing out, everyone. Thank you very much, Bishop. Thank you.
Thank you.